Alright, so I've split the lab safety talk into two pieces. One part I can do in this video, and the other part I can do in person. And so I'm going to swap. So either you're watching this first or you're watching it second, and I'll do the in-person part either before or after this. Alright, so first, no food or drink in lab. So no smoking or vaping. Don't apply cosmetics or lip balm, right? So this is really common. You don't think about it. You put on some chapstick, right? If you need to do that, step outside of lab first. And I prefer, don't even bring these items to the lab bench. If you set a drink down on the lab bench, technically I have to ask you to throw it away. So keep these things in your backpacks, or keep them in the cubbies, or set them on the windowsills outside of the lab. Don't bring your food and drink into the lab. Alright, so there's no food and drink in the lab. I haven't ever had a problem with this, but there's no smoking or vaping. Don't apply cosmetics or lip balm. So this is one that I often see, right? People don't think about it and they put on chapstick, but that's the equivalent of drinking something. So if you need to put on chapstick or you need to apply cosmetics, please step outside of the lab or go to the restroom to do that. Don't do that in lab. Right, and please don't bring your food or drink items to the bench, right? Plan ahead. Either leave them outside, keep them in your bag, or put them in your cubbies, but don't bring them to the lab bench. Technically, if you set a drink or a food container on the lab bench, I have to ask you to throw that out. So don't bring your food or drinks to the lab bench. Alright, so lab attire. Two big things are face masks and safety glasses, right? Don't be this dude. Your safety glasses should cover your nose and your mouth. And your lab glasses or goggles, right, keep them over your eyes. I do not want to protect your forehead. If you wear prescription glasses, you have to be sure that you have safety glasses that fit over those, right? When they're hanging down here on your nose, they're not going to protect you from splashes. And so if you wear eyeglasses, you have to have safety glasses or safety goggles that fit over them correctly. As far as contact lenses, you're not prohibited from wearing them, but I highly recommend, if it's possible, wear eyeglasses instead of contacts. So what can happen is the contact lenses can trap the chemicals against your eye and can reduce the effectiveness of the eye washes if you get things splashed in your eyes. So if it's possible, don't wear contact lenses. Wear eyeglasses instead, with safety glasses that fit over them. Alright, so another important aspect of lab attire is we need to be protected from spills, right? So we don't want bare midriffs, right? Make sure your shirts hang down low enough or can be tucked in so that your skin is not exposed. I know it's very fashionable to have rips in your jeans these days, but if you spill chemicals on your lab bench, the place they're most likely to get on you is on your legs, and so tears or rips in your jeans or pants are no good. So you need to wear things that cover all of your legs, right? And while I like the upper part of your legs, I also like the lower part of your legs, right? So these are not really long pants, right? You have exposed skin. And frankly, if you're spilling things, these are the places where you're most likely to have those chemicals contact your skin. So if you have to, buy some long pants, buy some lab pants that you can wear that make sure that everything is covered when you're in the lab. If you have long hair, it's also a good idea to keep that tied back. I haven't ever had anybody catch their hair on fire, but I have had students drag their hair through solutions when it wasn't tied back. So please be aware of that. All right, and when we talk about proper lab attire, we talk about closed-toed shoes, right? But what we really mean when we say closed-toed shoes is shoes that protect your whole foot, right? These ballet flats, technically your toes are enclosed, right? But the whole top of your foot is still exposed, right? So these are no good. We want something that protects your whole foot. So right below your shoulders, essentially, we need to have no exposed skin. So if there are spills or things blow up or there are explosions, right, you are protected as much as possible. And I have Crocs here. I don't imagine that anyone's wearing Crocs, but think of the same thing. Like if there are holes in your shoes, these are not good shoes for lab. We need shoes that protect your feet. All right, and if you don't have proper lab attire, I can't let you do the lab. It's just a safety and a legal issue. And keep your safety glasses over your eyes. I know in the current COVID environment, when we're wearing masks, glasses and goggles tend to fog up. If they fog up, right, and you need to take them off to unfog them, right, stop what you're doing, step away from the lab bench, and defog them. Don't throw them up on your forehead and, continue with the experiment. Fix the situation with the fogging and go back to the experiment as quickly as you can. All right, some extra COVID precautions. When you're conducting an experiment, you need to be wearing gloves, safety goggles or safety glasses, and masks at all times. If you want to wear a face shield and a mask, that's also fine. While you're taking quizzes, I won't ask you to wear gloves, but you're certainly welcome to if you would like to. I think it's a good idea when you come into the lab, wash your hands, wash them again before you leave the lab. We know that washing hands is a effective way of stopping the spread of the virus. And attempt to stay away from other students as much as you can. So we'll be doing the labs in pairs, but one person will be dealing with the equipment. You can have the other person, taking care of recording the observations, or divide the work so that you don't have to get on the same side of the lab bench. Sometimes it may be required or helpful to have both people with their hands on setting up the equipment, but try to minimize that as much as you can. If you see somebody who's already at the balances and there's one next to it, if there's not a significant space between them, right, wait till they're finished before you move up to that balance. If there's somebody dispensing waste in the waste container, right, keep a good distance back. Don't crowd up on them when you're waiting in line to dispose of your waste. I'm also going to ask, whenever you come in the lab, the first thing you should do is we have disinfectant. So spray down your area and clean it off. Clean off the stool that you're going to be sitting on. So clean your work area before you start the lab, and also clean the area to help protect the people that come in after you complete the experiment. In the past, we were able to lend out goggles and scrubs and things like that. We can't do that anymore. So you have to be sure that you have the proper lab attire and you have your safety glasses or safety goggles when you come to lab. For the gloves, of course, we can provide those. It is important to be to lab on time. If you know you have an emergency and you're going to be late, contact me, let me know, I'll work with you. But if you don't contact me and there's not an emergency, be to lab on time. All right, so you have a right to know about any dangers in the compounds that we use in lab might pose. Generally, these would be given in the lab write-ups, but if you would like to see the material safety data sheets for any of the compounds we use in lab, we can either provide you physical or digital copies. If you have any medical conditions, please consult with your physician. If you're comfortable doing so, please let me know and we can work together to make sure that you're staying safe in the lab. We use a lot of volatile compounds, and so things like asthma, or if you're pregnant, you may not want to be breathing in some of the compounds that we're using that might have an impact on your pregnancy. So we can work together if you let me know. If you ever feel unsafe in lab, or you feel that safety procedures are not being followed correctly, please bring that to my attention. If I don't satisfy your concerns, you don't have to continue with a lab that you feel is being conducted unsafely. I hope that you would consult with me and that we could work this out, but if I can't allay your concerns, you do not have to continue with the lab. Alright, so accidents are going to happen. You're going to spill things, you're going to break things. If they're small spills, go ahead and clean those up. If they're big spills, go ahead and get me. If you drop some glassware and you break it, please have me come clean it up. I know you're perfectly able of cleaning up broken glass, but if anybody's going to cut themselves, we'd rather be me than you. Alright, if you have any injuries in lab, please let me know, no matter how minor. Now, I think the two most common injuries that we're going to have in lab are either acid base or burns from temperatures. The first aid for both of those is the same. Get them under cool running water, and then send your lab partner to come get me. Right, a lot of the compounds we use in organic chemistry are flammable, so don't leave hot plates unattended. Right, if you need someone to go do something, send your lab partner to do it, and you stay and keep an eye on your hot plate, or vice versa. You may also notice we don't use Bunsen burners, we don't have open flames in the organic laboratory because so many of the solvents and compounds we use are flammable. Another important factor in lab safety is just being prepared, knowing what you're doing. So be sure that you read the lab handouts, write out your procedures, and know what you're doing before you come into the lab. And also keep your work area neat and clean. That's another important factor of lab safety. All right, and then finally, these are in-person things that I'll need to talk to you either in person, and I have done so already, or I will do so shortly.